Tonight on the Game On podcast, SA to host a Shield final, but
Guilty.
where will it be? And 30 years on, a son of a gun, starting to hit his straps at the right time of the year. And opening round, will changes be made? The question is going to be asked. All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Game On podcast. Once again, I'm joined here in the studio with Malcolm. My name's Pete. And mate, how's your week been? And have you enjoyed the public holiday Monday?
No, I've been out and about annoying people today with my book. Yeah, no, did okay today. Look, great day yesterday. I actually went and watched the under-17 grand final between Adelaide and Glenelg. Well done at Adelaide on a real good team effort.
Yes.
They probably didn't have the overall just individual ability of Glenelg, but really played well as a team. And I was obviously following the South Australian game pretty closely. And let's just say I might have frightened a few people when Jake hit the winning runs and
Yes.
let people at Campbelltown know. And
You're up and about?
Yeah, the East Torrens barmen were pissing themselves laughing. They said that was gold, Malcolm. You said you woke a couple of people out of their death effectively down there. So
Very, very
yeah,
good.
It was a good day.
A bit of a warm day out there for the last few days, but some good cricket being played at Campbelltown Oval. And you already mentioned last week there that potentially could be a venue, but we'll cover that in a minute in definitely around the grounds. How's the book selling going, mate? We better give that a little plug while we're here.
Yeah, no, anyone contact us anytime. The definitive rulebook, happy to drop it off to you. So, yes, and I spent a bit of time at the Britannia on the weekend with the car race there as well. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Doing
it did
okay.
okay.
Before we get into Around the Grounds, we'll say it now and we'll probably say it at the end. If you haven't liked, rated and subscribed, please do so. All those numbers do definitely help us when it comes to trying to attract new sponsors for our new season coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So really looking forward to that. All right, let's get into Around the Grounds, mate.
Around the Grounds.
All right, and as per usual, we're going to have a look at the SANFL, the soccer, the NRL a little bit later on. But let's kick off with the cricket. As we said, South Australia in a very, very impressive performance against Victoria. Mate, give us a rundown.
Pretty well. We didn't play well in the first session of the game. Dropped Kellaway, which would have made them 2 for 50, the Vicks 2 for 15. They got away. They were 1 for 120 odd. Then the game fluctuated back and forth. Both teams ended up 280 odd. It was 2 running the difference on the first innings. Jordan Buckingham's shot batting number 11 was certainly not the highlight of the weekend.
Yes.
And then the Vicks in the second innings again got away and at one stage were 2 for 166. Now, to then peg them back, bowl them out, 300 to win, and Connor McInerney failed again for the second time with the bat. But then Henry Hunt and Nathan McSweeney got through to stumps. We're 1 for 47 at stumps.
Yep.
Chasing 300. Start of the third day, of the last day, Nathan McSweeney and Jason Sanger, statistically probably just about our 2 best players, and especially Jason Sanger, but obviously Nathan's missed games for the test side and all that sort of things. But arguably our 2 best players fail. We're 3 for 54. You're thinking, head down in the dumps. Partnership of 54 between Henry Hunt and Jake Lehman. Then Henry Hunt got out. And then in came Liam Scott. Liam Scott's probably the revelation of the year.
Yes.
So he's really performed. And he got 3 wickets in the second innings. Probably didn't bowl as well in the first innings, but he did have a couple of catches dropped off him. But batted beautifully. And Jake and Liam got us through. And then Liam got out. Harry Nielsen, who has been batting well, got a good ball from Boland.
Yep.
And then so it was still game on. 6 for 48 to get, I think it was.
Yep.
And Jake Lehman and Ben Menenti got us through. And, so a great result. It's not very often you chase 300 and win. It's very unusual for the last innings of the game to end up the highest score of the game.
Yep.
Also, it is our best ever season away. We won 4 games away this year and drew the other one.
And our interview with Rhino, you said that a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Oh, I didn't actually know that stat." So, kudos to you for following that up. But that is an amazing statistic,
best
isn't
since the 6 states have come in, but it still needs to be clarified. And it's a hard one because you played less games years ago. So in that way, but it's statistically our best away season since all 6 states were playing.
Yes.
So fantastic result. You know, to beat the Vicks in both Shield games and 2-1 in the one day and the minor and the final was sensational. So yeah, a great result. Jake Lehman, you know, Jake's position was very much under threat.
Yeah, it was.
And Jake was probably trying too hard a bit early in the year. Got out a couple of times. I think he was just too tense. And
was he trying to force it a little bit?
I think he was just trying too hard. I just think it wasn't relaxing. And then came the final, and look, he was a controversial selection in the one-day final side as well. But he hit the first couple of balls he hit a 4 straight down the ground.
Yes.
And I said to the guys, a couple of guys I was sitting with, Jake's okay today. He's on, and he batted really well in the one-day final. 34 in the first innings, an unlucky LBW decision, a doubtful one there, and then followed up the second innings. So great that Jake's coming through. And look, to chase 300 and only get 17 between McSweeney and Sanger is a pretty good sign.
That is
really.
a pretty good sign.
So, yeah.
Mate, I've got down on my run sheet here is resilience. It was good, resilient batting by South Australia. Now, that's something we haven't been able to say for quite some time. I wanted to get your feelings on it as to how you feel this season's gone, especially when it comes to the resilience, and it's something that Rhino has brought to the team.
Look, and to his credit, too, there's been some questionable selections, but in the end it's turned out that it's worked.
Yep.
Now, I think Ben Minetti was pretty unlucky in the last one-day against Tasmania where he had Mitch Owen palpably plumb given not out, and he missed out. Henry Thornton was a controversial selection in that final.
Yes.
4th for man of the match. So, look, you can't question at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see whether, because Alex Carey will be back, so whether I think that Harry Nielsen may well open, that Connor McInerney might miss out.
Right.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what they'll do.
We'll wait to see what happens, but obviously we've still got one game to go.
Yeah, we play Queensland, and it's a fascinating that Tasmania are the only side who can't make it. So we'll be following the other games pretty closely.
Yep.
I admit I found it a bit bizarre that New South Wales, they were set 277 to get off 57 overs. So it wasn't, not an impossible thing whatsoever. Didn't have a crack at it. Just play out for the draw to get the 1 point for the draw. So I was a bit surprised there. Very negative by New South Wales, and that's
which
not
is very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was a bit not backing themselves in. So, because Madison got out straight away, and they said, we lost a wicket early, so we set up shot. Now, I get it. If you're 3 for, you're not 1 for.
Yep.
So, it was a bit interesting there. So, we're actually 15 points clear in second spot, which is a hell of a lot. So, yeah.
You don't see that every day.
No.
You did mention there that some interesting selection calls. Is that a gut feel based upon what's going on? I mean, we don't get to see behind the scenes and every practice session and all that. I sort of get that. But, some performances, you raise your eyebrow going, I can't believe this guy's been selected. But is it a gut feel from Rhino, or is it statistics?
It's a bit of everything involved in that way. Ryan's been very much right from he was appointed, or even before he was appointed, where he was interim, that it's a squad mentality. We'll be going with a battery, pace bowling battery, and swapping guys over constantly, and look, it's worked. So it's going to be interesting to see what side ends up taking the park, because it's pretty hard to fit 14 to 11. So there's going to be a couple of very unlucky players to miss out.
And that's going to be the story, isn't it, really, leading up to a Shield final as to who is going to miss out.
And that'll probably decide, it may well decide if it's a Karen Rolton, Lloyd Pope might miss out, or if it's Adelaide Oval he plays. So, I'm sure Popey's probably ringing Peter Malinauskas at the moment. Can we make sure we get it at Adelaide Oval?
Yep, and every AFL person involved at AFL House to try and get that game sort of squeezed in.
Yeah.
I know the logistics are going to be interesting. As you said there, Victoria making 285 and 297, with South Australia making 283 and 300 respectively in that score. And that's probably the most important part of that whole score lineup there, is that they were close enough in the first innings to apply a bit of pressure, but they could have fallen away quite dramatically like has happened in the past, and to finish 6 for 300 is a fantastic result.
Oh, and Victoria would be kicking themselves because they got a couple of times in the game right on top. 2 for 166 in that second innings, and Kellaway played a pretty average shot to get out. Peter Hampscombe misjudged a length delivery, and they lost 5 for 20.
Yep.
Victoria there. So I was at Parkinson watching Kenzie and West Torrens. Kensington actually had a premiership reunion from 20 years ago. Jason Morgan turned up. He's still Adelaide. He's still Australia. He's living in Darwin, so he's still Australia's youngest teenager, or oldest teenager, sorry.
Yep.
And Jamie Siddons was there, and Andrew Rumblow. It was fantastic. Good to see, catch up with some Kenzie guys as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and West Torrens, to their credit there, they were 2 for 14, chasing 267, and got them. So they batted really well. So
resilience seems to be the buzzword at the moment, and a few teams going along quite nicely. Any other cricket results from the weekend you'd like to talk about before I move on?
We might cover the local cricket a little bit.
Yep, a little bit later.
A little bit. Yeah.
I'll just poke in right now. One that I've got here is congratulations, obviously, to India in the Champions Trophy against New Zealand. 6 for 254 after 49
I'm not that way,
overs.
and I think it's disgraceful that one country, because every dollar, 78 cents out of every dollar in world cricket comes from India, they have so much pull that they refuse to play in the host country in Pakistan, and they play all their games at Dubai. The finals played at Dubai. Such a massive advantage to India. I really didn't pay the...
No, but they are champion trophies.
Yeah, they won. I
Trophy.
give them that, but I just thought it was farcical.
And I'll tell you right now, the New Zealand fielding just gets better and better and better. There's just screamers left, right and centre every game they play in.
Yeah, Glenn Phillips especially, but unfortunately Jamison dropped an absolute soda, which was vital. So
there you go. Yeah. Take the good with the bad. All right, we'll come back to cricket a little bit later on, a little bit of local cricket. Let's talk AFL, mate. Opening round was on the weekend. Look, Tropical Cyclone changed the format of this year's opening round, but was it a good thing? Because it's probably opened up the discussion as to, do we need to change the opening round format?
Look, I get it that, okay, rugby is in Las Vegas, so let's try and get some share of the market. We get that. And look, you can't judge them. They're nice and unlucky to lose 2 games to a Cyclone. Yes. But overall, I'm sorry. For me, opening round is opening round. That means everyone plays.
Yep.
I just think it's Mickey Mouse. I've always said it's a bit of advantage. Generally, those teams playing first and playing a team. Probably not quite so much in this way because if they've played in heat, so it probably balances that up.
Yes.
But I just
so and looking at the rescheduled games, obviously one of them is going to be rescheduled early in the season. And it looks like one of them is going to be right at the end of the season, which
bizarre.
That is farcical because you're always going to be looking at the ladder going,
one team they've played a game less. It's crazy.
Yep.
I just don't get it. Why they haven't gone you're unlucky. You're gonna have to have you don't get a bye just purely because of fluke.
Yes.
You play then, and that's what should happen.
If the teams that had played each other had the bye at the same time or played each other in the second round, you could have almost sort of sorted that out early in the season, couldn't you? It's going to be an interesting one. What's the solution?
But then I actually agree, though, in terms of the cancer. And I was really glad where Lockie Neal came in and said, right, if that game had been switched, I wouldn't have played.
Yes.
I'm putting my family first above sport. And I thought, bloody good on him that he was that honest and all that. And I reckon it was pretty rough asking the rugby guys, Brisbane Raw, to play here because we all had no idea what's going to happen. And we still don't. Like, the flooding is getting bigger now.
That's right.
It's actually way more about now than that. So I think then it was obviously the right call to cancel. I think other sports should have it as well.
Yep.
But I just think in that regard, they've got to play on the bye weekend as far as I was concerned.
Yes. Yep.
I just don't get it.
Yep. That's going to be interesting to play. What's the solution? I've heard a couple of different solutions. What's your take on it?
I just, in terms of that,
Of opening round, you saying everyone has to play.
Everyone
I
plays.
agree, and
Everyone
I think
plays.
everyone does. But how do they do that to, say, benefit those markets?
2 games in each state.
Yep.
So you play 2 games in Queensland, 2 games in New South Wales, 2 games
Yep.
Victoria, 2 games here, 2 games in WA.
Yep.
Or 1 if it's got to be split up.
Yes.
But either way.
Yep.
That way each state gets a crack.
And make it a festival of footy on
along
one
that
weekend,
way.
isn't it? A bit like the gather round.
A bit like Gather Round, but split around more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, watch this space. I think it's gaining a little bit of momentum as to what may happen in the future with opening round, whether they've got deals and arrangements with stadiums, which really wouldn't change too much if they did do the 2 extra games in each state, like you're saying now. I think that's the most fair and equitable decision to be made anyway,
If we
for the value of the game.
Yeah, I think so. Now, if we want to go back to local cricket just for a minute,
Yes?
probably the bombshell really of the whole season is that Glenelg are going to get relegated.
Wow.
And Glenelg, who have Alex Carey, Liam Scott, Nathan McSweeney, Harry Conway, Scott, there's one more, which is incredible that they've ended up
Yep.
getting relegated. So it's going to be interesting to see. So they go down to Div 2. And the Saka keeps saying, we don't mind if you play Div 2. Jake Lehman took the bullet when East Torrens got transferred. He got relegated.
Yep.
And East Torrens are coming back up.
Yes.
So well done to East Torrens.
Absolutely.
Already sewed up minor premiership in Div 2, so they're back up.
Yep.
Back up.
Will it force the hand a little bit?
Yeah, so out of that, you're now saying to all those guys, it doesn't matter if you played Div 2. I just think in that way, it's a Pandora's box. And that's what the conversation was very much about on Saturday, that, hang on, one of the powerhouses have gone down.
Yep.
They weren't expecting this. So, it is really
It's going
interesting.
to be a very interesting case study. All right, let's move on with AFL as well. Adelaide, do they stick fat with Matty Nicks this year if they don't yield the results, i.e. finals? They keep sort of putting it on the agenda that it's a make or break season, well, from the outside. But my question is that Neil Baum is now there. Will he become the voice of reason, a bit like what happened when Bomber Thompson was at Geelong, and the same with Damien Hardwick at Richmond? Is it a case of...
That's Barmy as a T. It's always...
This is what I'm asking. Look,
Damien... arguably Barmy's biggest influence was on Richmond in terms of Damien Hardwick was a person, an idea, and then if Richmond lose, he'd panic and want to change it. Barmy was very much, again, as you said, the voice of reason.
Yep.
Talk about it tomorrow, Damien. Sleep on it. Rah, rah.
Yep.
No, we backed you in.
Yep.
Rah. And they came through. They came through when we survived, and same thing with Bomber Thompson, just survived.
Yes.
But
is it a case of similarities here that... Look, I'm partial each way as to whether he'll stay or go. I just see similarities with that they're just coming up to a successful period. Let him see it through.
Yeah, maybe. I think they're going to have to be very much at least around the mark for the... If they bomb this year and finish well out of the 8 contention, no, I think he's definitely gone then. If it gets to the spot... Because as we've said, we're talking about it, pick your top 8.
I know.
And it's impossible. Like, you left GWS out, and now they're premiership favourites after the weekend. Yeah, so it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Out of that. So it's so hard and so even in that way. But they need to show some improvement from last year.
Yeah. Well, they're starting to get the tools together to allow that to happen. Is it a case, this is why I ask, is it a case for Adelaide fans out there that do you keep Matty Nicks based upon stick fat with him? You've stuck fat with him during the lean times. They look like they're heading towards some better times. Give him the opportunity to do it.
They do, but I still think there's some holes in the list. Look, I wish, and I said it at the time, if I'd been Adelaide, I would have made Lloyd Meek an absolute must.
Yep.
I'm sorry, he showed on the weekend. that was probably his best game.
Yes.
But I thought he'd shown enough at Fremantle that I would have put him on the must-have
list.
list. I'd love to know whether Adelaide even had a crack.
Yep.
And for mine, there's still big holes. There's still too many honest battlers on that list.
Let's talk the ruck. It's one of your
pet
hates, bugbears, whatever it be.
Yep.
The Crows look like they were into Grundy pretty heavily. I've not seen in the last 2 years Grundy at his absolute best. Is that maybe a blessing in disguise?
Maybe. Who knows? He virtually had the year at Melbourne where it was sort of a waste, really.
Yep. Because he lost momentum from that
and
point
he was
onwards,
pretty reasonable for Sydney last year.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not saying he's the worst ruckman going
that.
around.
No, he's pretty. And look, I think he probably played round one underdone. You can argue he shouldn't have played.
Yep.
And so Meek took him apart if we were, in that way. And I think he'd be just, I think that Sydney would look at that and go, maybe we stuffed up at selection there.
Yep. No, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, before we get on to opening round matches, we'll just talk a couple of hot topics. The conference system has been brought up again in talks. Maybe Eddie Maguire listens to our podcast, mate, because we talked about this a little while ago.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the conference system? Because, not two-tiered competitions like we talked about with the Saka a minute ago, but an actual two-conference system, so you get almost a true home and away with, say, 10 teams in each conference.
And then you play the others one. So it's sort of the same anyway. It's not a huge amount of difference.
Yep.
So I'm still lukewarm about it.
Yep. I think it has its advantages and disadvantages, but certainly the
Let's
way
just,
we've got it at the moment, it's just not quite right, is it?
It's not. And if it wasn't a multi-million-dollar business, if it was actually a sport,
You'd go back to one round each.
it'd be one round.
Yep.
And we wouldn't be playing football in 30-plus degrees, where it's not designed to be played then. So, unfortunately, because it's a multi-million-dollar business, that
correct. You've got to have these rivalry games, these double-ups with all the big clubs as well.
The fact that we're arguing about discussing where a Shield final should be played, well, of course it should be at Adelaide Oval, because footy shouldn't have started yet, but that's not it.
No. That's where things have changed quite dramatically, hasn't it? All right, let's we might touch base with that one a little bit later in the season, see what comes up between now and then. All right, drugs policy, where is it at and is it fair? What are your thoughts on the drugs policy, mate? Because it's been a bit like the tennis. There's been a couple of things that have happened behind the scenes that have just made you scratch your head a little bit.
Yeah. I admit it was a subject, because I'm more red hot on it, bang, see you later.
Yes.
I did have a good conversation with Barmy about that.
Yep.
And he was very much, well, no, we've got to educate, we've got to do this as society. And
so you got the other side of the argument.
Yeah, and it was probably a bit of an education for me as someone who's haven't even bloody seen the stuff. So I'm probably a bit naive.
Yep.
I do remember one night where a mate from Adelaide Uni went, right, if I wanted this, I'd go there, this, I'd go there, this, I'd go there. I could be back here in 20 minutes with all of it. And I'm like, geez, sort of thing. And look, I saw things when I worked at Footy Park doing the raffle walk in the car park. Mm-hmm. I saw deals done every game.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of an eye-opener as well, where, look, you just see someone go past and just slip something in a pocket, and you didn't think anything of it. It was later on where you went, hang on, that's what was going on.
Yeah. Players are not immune to it, and in some respects we do hold them to a higher standard of account. So being in the spotlight, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. So it's an interesting one for me. I do believe in the maybe 2 or 3 strikes policy, but how it's reported and how they go about it. And you see players mysteriously on a Thursday night out with a hamstring and not playing on the weekend. You got to question that and scratch your head a few times with it. Yeah. So, yes, very, very interesting. All right. Players getting a second crack in a different position. Is it a good idea? Have we got a bit of a time warp back to yesteryear where, that rover or ruck rover would be, played in that forward pocket or sort of back pocket type role to keep them in the game a little bit longer?
Oh, a little bit. And then you get someone like Toby Bedford who goes from Melbourne to GWS, and you're thinking, well, he's just more a bit of depth. Playing half forward, he's a maybe. Now they've developed into a tagger.
Yep.
and all of a sudden he's a vital player. Like, he did a very good job on Dacos. And that player then there. So, yeah, I think there's scope.
Yes.
There
because we went away from that for a few years where it was just like almost you weren't good enough, you're off the list. And
it was.
whereas people are tending to recycle or reuse players in different areas, and it's actually coming up trumps, isn't it?
Oh, also, as the interchange numbers that you're allowed gets cut back, so therefore guys have to have more strings to the bow too.
Yep. Very, very interesting, and some players are going to get a second lease of life this year, and I'm really interested through the first 5 rounds as to how they go. All right, my last top topic before we get on to last weekend's games and this weekend's games coming up. A bit of a bugbear for you, mate, was pushing the backs. You made mention of it last year. It's becoming more and more prevalent this year with players pushing other players into contests, which is slightly different to the pushing the back you were talking about, but it all comes under the same scope, doesn't it?
It does. I admit I don't agree with the one where, trying to think, Darcy Cameron's been criticised for the Bigs one on the weekend. Well, I actually thought that was more Taylor running the other way.
Yep.
So I think I still think we've got to remember if a guy's trying to hold his position. And there's a couple that, look, I thought the one which was dangerous was the Ryan Gibney. If Gibney had got games from West Coast, I wouldn't have had a problem with that.
Yes.
Any of the others so far, I thought it was ridiculous.
What about the Curtin one?
I thought there was nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
He just tried to hold his ground.
Yeah.
I thought I'm looking at that one going, hang on, that's just a normal
So it's a
footy thing.
football collision,
Yeah, where Gibney could have, that was the one which could have been avoided.
Yep.
I think the others are all a bit, I just think it's a bit unlucky. And with this one, if Taylor doesn't run backwards,
he probably doesn't put himself in that position.
Yeah, so I think Biggs is pretty unlucky.
Yep. That one's going to be a very interesting watch. All right, let's talk about this last week's game. Sydney v Hawthorn, which ended up being the first game of the round. What are your thoughts on Sydney, mate? Because I know we chucked each other a couple of quick tips before we started, and unfortunately we're both none for two.
No early wickets.
No,
for two.
That's exactly right.
Look, I thought it was a very high standard game.
It was
for round one, and then they were unlucky that the rain came down. Which bizarrely, considering everything else was predicted, that wasn't actually predicted for Sydney at that time.
Yes.
So, but I thought it was a really high standard game.
Yep.
7 points the difference in the last quarter. Game still up for grabs, and then Sydney shocking kick across goal, and that was sort of the end of the game. That pricked the balloon.
Yep.
There, I thought also Sydney were a little unlucky with the umpiring. I just thought the umpiring overall leave the game alone.
Yep.
I just thought there was some
let
free
it
kicks
flow a little
played.
bit. Yep.
Was unjustified and was disappointing. I thought they wanted to make their mark on the game. No, the players, let them go.
Is it a case of first round trying to make an impression, set the sort of standard a little bit?
There was a few there which just lacked a bit of footy nous as well. So I was a bit. I thought it was better on what I saw yesterday, but while I watched yesterday's game, I was watching the cricket as well, so I was going a bit of both.
Yep.
Where Friday night I watched the whole game. So.
Did you think, and this is just an observation from me, did you think that the umpires were a lot quicker on balling up the ball, as in calling the ball up to avoid that sling
Which I
action?
Like anyway.
I like it as well. Did you feel like that was the case? Because it's sort of, for me,
that's fair.
It felt a bit that way.
I didn't think of it at the time, but I think that's a fair observation.
Yep. Sydney obviously going down to Hawthorn by 20 points. Have we underestimated Hawthorn once again?
Well, Barras was very impressive.
Yep.
Battle was okay, but Barras was the one.
What do you think of D'Ambrosio?
He's a huge pickup. Jeez, he's a good user of the ball.
Will Essendon be kicking themselves on that one?
Big time. And so the other clubs.
Yep.
I think Adelaide showed a bit of interest in him. I think they'd be wishing they'd shown a lot more.
Yep.
And I think there'd be other clubs obviously there because
absolutely.
He was pretty unlucky not to make the All-Australian side last year. I thought, as they do with the All-Australian side, tend not to pick wingmen. They pick because they try to share the midfielders around, where D'Ambrosio was probably the one wingman I thought who probably should have made,
Yep.
and that. But, beautiful user of the ball. The left footers always help.
I was
always
just about to say that again. Is it a
Carl Amon. Yeah,
is it a throwback to Alistair Clarkson where he did have a lot of left footers in that side?
Oh, look, it is an advantage because it just doesn't matter. Even though you're telling yourself,
angles.
don't go that way. Don't commit. He's a left footer. You still
The
do.
instinct.
And
Yep.
yeah, so, look, that was important. And,
Yep.
yeah, Will Day's a gun.
Yes.
Absolute gun. A few of us said that at the time. I will say, I did say that to Hawthorn. I said, you have got a ripper. That he is all class.
Yep. And
And
they're probably arguably their best forward, or potentially their best forward going around, not even playing.
yeah, and look, let's also remember that there was Hawthorn last year where if Will Day's fit in the finals,
Yep.
well, you're thinking they're probably playing one more week. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Anyway, well done to Hawthorn winning by
Yeah.
20 points there. I must admit, I have probably underestimated them a little bit in my thinking long term for the season. But such a young group with confidence early in the season, anything could happen. It's certainly a better start this year than last year. So I think Hawthorn's going to be one of those teams to watch again.
And look, I think GWS, it's a hard one.
Yeah,
because,
let's move on to this game. Yep.
Yeah, look, I think because unless you're a footy nut and watch all 9 games and all that, GWS are out of the limelight a bit.
Yep.
And look, I think all of us thought, when Finn Callahan got offered the huge Godfather offer from St Kilda,
Yep.
I think we all thought,
Well, hang on, which player hasn't been offered the Godfather offer from St Kilda?
And there was a bit of that, and I think we all thought, yeah, he's reasonable. He's not a bad player,
Yep.
but geez, didn't he explode? And I think Sam Taylor's, he's got claims on being the best backman in the league. Now, you mentioned if he was in Victoria,
Yes.
everyone would be carrying on about
He's
him
the
like,
next Messiah. Yep.
yeah, like he's an Alex Rance,
Yep.
a Matty Scarlett,
Yep.
and that. And I think he is I think, geez, he's good overhead,
Yep.
and in a pack situation. Alex Rance was great for rebound, playing as that +1. Well, Taylor tends to beat the guy and get the ball as well.
Yep.
And, he's. And I watched that yesterday. I thought, geez, I knew he was good.
Yep.
But he's probably a bit better than I realised.
Okay, there you go.
They were my 2 thoughts on those 2 yesterday.
No, fair enough. Well, we said it before, we'll say it again, a bit like Hawthorn, underestimating the GWS Giants. They've still got a lot of talent on that list, which we knew.
Yeah.
We just didn't see it a little bit through the practice game. So when it comes to that, you've almost got to throw out that form, don't you?
And we all make that mistake. We put too much value on practice games. You should just go, no, ignore them. You've almost got to tell yourself a million times,
Yep.
ignore them, they're irrelevant. But I thought Hogan out. Who's going to kick their goals?
Yes.
Hogan's out. Stringer
comes in.
yet,
Yep.
but he was the one.
Yep.
You go, hang on. And ironically, out of that, Cadman didn't do much.
Yep.
But they ran the ball just so well.
Well, this was going to be my one word for GWS this year. It looks like they're adaptable. They can play that small running game, and geez, those handballs coming out of the centre there was mighty impressive. But equally, Collingwood. Where are Collingwood at? We know that they've got one of the older lists on the park. They've tried to recruit a couple in, but are they destined for that year where they do need to reset a little bit?
Oh, look, and I think one thing, Collingwood, when they do fall, they're going to fall for a fair while because they are so. Look,
because they got rid of their first round draft pick for next year on the basis that this year is going to be.
I just think at the moment, look, I wasn't a fan of them picking up Tim Membry. I've said it beforehand, and look, you kick 4 against Richmond. I'm going, hang on, guys.
Yeah, it's just Richmond.
Well, they're just a team full of kids.
Yep.
It's totally different. That and then standing with Sam Taylor, that's like facing your or my bowling and then face Curtly Ambrose as his top as a comparison.
We're getting carded and Curtly Ambrose is bowling you straight away, isn't he?
So I just thought there, it did look a worry yesterday. Look, yes, it's one game, so you don't go troppo on that. But the worry was, can Collingwood run hard enough the other way? Side bottom Pendlebury as they get older, etc. How and
it's harder to hide as an older player these days, isn't it?
Oh, it's a competition which just ruthlessly spits you out. When someone gets too old, they look terrible.
Could that happen with someone like a Rory Laird this year? We've sort of
already
hinted that Smith's going to be in that boat.
Yeah, I think maybe, but the big thing is he goes to halfback. so
It's
he's not
versatility.
exposed in midfield
Yep.
and that. And I think that's where you need it the most. But
Yep.
the fact they've gone so old, look, they paid overs to get Schultz.
Yes.
He's only there 1 year, so let's wait and see.
Yep.
But I think if you were just to a neutral at the moment, you said Ginnivan or Schultz, you'd go, I'll have Ginnivan, thanks.
Yes.
And yet they gave up a lot to get Schultz. Yes, it was Ginnivan off-field stuff, the stupidity before the grand final, and I think that was the final straw.
Yep.
So we get that, but there's big question marks on the Pies at the moment.
There is.
Massive question marks.
That is going to be my one word for Collingwood is question mark, question mark, question mark. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting
But
watch.
again, they did kick 1 goal 6 in the first quarter.
Yep.
If they kick
4
6-1 or 4-3
Yep.
and they're 2 or 3 goals up at quarter time, totally different game. So, again, we jump at things pretty quick.
Yep.
So, wait and see. But it was just a bit worry where they couldn't keep up running the other way.
Yep. All right. We will declare our hand. We both picked Sydney and Collingwood for this week's win, but or last week's winning teams. And unfortunately, like you said, none for 2, which is a pretty good batting average. We'll take that. But we've got to get on the board this week with some games. Carlton v Hawthorn Thursday night. Really looking forward to this one.
It's Carlton Richmond, isn't it?
No, I've got Carlton and Hawthorn.
No. I think you're on the wrong round.
Round 2, sorry.
Yeah, go the wrong round.
Round 1, Richmond v Carlton.
Yep. Carlton.
Carlton for me. Hawthorn v Essendon.
I'll go Hawthorn.
Hawthorn for me. Geelong v Fremantle.
At the Cattery?
It is at the Cattery, but
Yeah,
Fremantle have got a pretty good
they
record down there.
They have, but I'll still... Bailey Smith's first game at the Cattery, the redevelopment, 40-odd thousand. I'll go the Cats.
Cats for me as well. Swans v the Lions. Game of the round?
It is.
Yep.
I'll go Lions.
Lions for me as well. The Western Bulldogs v North Melbourne.
I know Western Bulldogs have got a hell of a lot out, but I'll still go for them to get up. But I reckon you can go either one on that.
Well, I'm going North Melbourne on
Yeah.
that one there. And Collingwood v Port Adelaide. At the MCG.
Yeah, the G. Look, if and Butter's out, Rosie may be in doubt there. If Rosie doesn't come up, that's pretty crucial. But I'll go the Pies to bounce back.
I'll go Collingwood as well. I think they'll be absolutely smarting for losing by 52 points to GWS on the weekend. Adelaide v St Kilda, Adelaide Oval.
You've got to go Adelaide. I just hope they haven't swallowed all the media hype about them.
It's that danger game, isn't it? That a team could come to town with really nothing to lose.
St Kilda have got a lot out. I admit it. It should be for the James Gallagher Cup. Gags now at Adelaide.
Yes.
Coming from St Kilda.
Yep.
His 1-3 Brownlow medal vote game was Adelaide v St Kilda. So, yeah, I think it should be for the James Gallagher Cup.
And we think Harry Boyd will play.
Yes.
Which will be fantastic for Harry.
Looking forward to that.
Obviously, previous guest on our podcast, which is always good to promote. All right, Melbourne.
I will message him and wish him all the best.
Absolutely. Melbourne v the Giants.
Again,
Melbourne
across
haven't
the
played a
board.
game.
No,
Giants
no.
have played a game. It was
Yeah.
impressive, but there was quite warm conditions.
And Biggs won't play against Gawn. Will they kick enough goals, Melbourne, against GWS? No, I'm going to go GWS.
GWS for me as well. And West Coast v the Suns.
I'll go Gold Coast.
Gold Coast for me, finally winning an away game from home for a fair while.
I wish Walter was playing. He's unavailable for round one, having been suspended. So he would have been playing this week.
Yep.
If they'd played last week. So I think that's a bit of a bummer for Gold Coast, that one, because I still say he struggled last year, but I saw enough of him as a kid. I still think he will explode on the scene.
Absolutely. All right, mate, we better leave the footy there. We could pretty much talk all night on the footy if we wanted to, but coming up, Adelaide United, a little bit of work to do now, falling down the ladder a few spots, so best of luck to them coming up games. SANFL will talk some trial games, but the state game between SA and Victoria up at the Barossa. And in the NRL, the Melbourne Storm once again for their first round game.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking to buy or sell your home anywhere in Adelaide, from the hills to the sea? Meet Gary KRIEVS, your dedicated local agent from OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. With unparalleled knowledge of Adelaide's housing market and a commitment to exceptional service, Gary ensures a smooth and stress-free experience for all your real estate needs. Trust the expert, trust Gary KRIEVS at OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. Your next dream home awaits. Contact Gary today on 0422 071 317 or on email garyk@ocre.com.au. And for more listings, please visit owenscasserly.com.au. Make it happen. And as per usual, we thank our sponsors for being on board with us and helping us out with producing this podcast. All right, mate, let's move on to soccer, A-League. Adelaide United. Got a little bit of work to do now after a 1-1 draw with Brisbane Roar.
Yeah, disappointing. Brisbane are on the bottom. They've gone from cruising to down to 5th. Could still theoretically miss the top 6. Look, we knew the young was a chance to happen to fade away and a few injuries have caught up.
Yep.
We love it. They've gone young and gone South Australian. But, geez, it'd be good if they had just a little bit more experience.
Maybe one marquee player is probably missing from that list.
Yeah.
Maybe something for the wish list for the off-season.
Oh, you imagine a Craig Goodwin still in that side.
Yep.
Something like that.
Makes a big difference. Yeah. I agree. Adelaide United now sitting 5th. They play Macarthur this Friday night coming at 7:05 p.m. Friday the 14th of March, 7:05 p.m. Any Reds fans out there, get to your home games there and cheer on your team for a big win.
Game.
Absolutely.
Big game.
Mate, let's talk Premier League. We haven't talked it for a few weeks. How are we looking from your point of view?
Liverpool, then
Arsenal,
then the rest.
The rest, yep.
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Now, Liverpool have won the championship. It's huge. I admit my son, who's Manchester United, he said it's been the most boring Premier League season. Liverpool won it early. And so following the Champions League too. So last week, Liverpool played PSG away, and I will say that Alisson, the Liverpool goalkeeper, gave the best exhibition of goalkeeping I'd ever seen. He virtually made it a rule himself. No, the ball's not going in the net. He saved. They should have lost that game by 3 or 4 goals minimum. Yep. And he was incredible. And then they grabbed one away. So they played this week on the home game. So they should get through to the next level.
Are goalkeepers the most underrated players in a soccer team when you think about it?
Anyone out there, if they haven't seen this game, just Google Liverpool v PSG highlights, and you will go at the end, wow, he was literally ridiculous how good he was.
Absolutely love it. As you mentioned, Liverpool sitting top, Arsenal second, Nottingham Forest.
They've come from the clouds. They've had a great year where they just avoided relegation last year. Now up to 3rd, they should qualify for Europe. So it's their best year for a long time.
Absolutely. Chelsea sitting 4th, which I'm reasonably happy about there, but it's probably the big one is Ange Postecoglou. A lot of injuries, mounting pressure.
Huge game this Thursday in the Europa Cup. They're 1-0 down. If they lose this week,
you think he might be getting the resume ready?
Yeah, I reckon he might be looking for a job Friday. So we know how ruthless they are over there. It is a huge game for Tottenham this week in the Europa League.
Absolutely. All right, we'll keep an eye on that one and watch that one with great interest. All right, let's move on to something a little closer to home. The SANFL trial matches. Not last Friday night, but the Friday night before. Adelaide defeating Woodville West Torrens quite handsomely there at West Lakes. But last weekend we had Glenelg taking on Sturt, with Glenelg just getting over the line up at Mount Barker.
Yep. So, look, I've only seen the scores. Really don't know much, apart from Central's absolutely annihilated Nord.
Yep.
Nord were very disappointing. I haven't The only feedback I've got from a few Nord people is that Centrals were too big, too physical, which is a bit of a worry.
Yep.
It was the feedback I've had back from
Nope.
3-4. So, yeah.
Keep an eye on that.
North way too good for West, and Woodville West Torrens way too good for South. So a bit of a worry there for a couple of those.
Absolutely. Which we
well.
sort of think that Glenelg, Sturt, North, Woodville West Torrens, Crows and Port Adelaide. Yeah. All right, trial matches coming up this weekend. Sturt v North, Friday night at Mount Barker. Great to see them using that facility up there.
Yes, funny how a bit of common sense has finally come in.
And
yes.
a little bit of media, sort of negative media there, listening to 5AA and some of the interviews on there. They're trying to get it up and going, which is very, very important.
Yes. I pretty bite my tongue there on what I think.
No. Do we see a gather-round style sort of happening up there this year with maybe the SANFL, with maybe some of the under-17s or under-18s, under-21s?
There's a few things programmed like that, so it will be interesting to see what goes. But, yeah, look, ridiculous, absolute insanity that such a brilliant facility hasn't been utilised. So, thank goodness it finally is a bit now.
Absolutely. 7:50 Friday night for anybody who's planning on heading up there. Well, I know we do have a lot of SANFL listeners to the show, so head up there. Central's taking on Glenelg at Ex-Convenience Oval. Yep. That'll be a good test to see where Centrals are at after, obviously, a pretty good weekend against Nord. West v Woodville West Torrens at Hisense, 12:40 on Saturday afternoon. And then this one's a bit of a bizarre one for me. South Adelaide take on Adelaide at Alberton at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. And Port Adelaide take on Norwood at Alberton Oval at 2:20 on Sunday afternoon.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know why it's not at Norwood. I haven't heard. I might do a bit of delving.
Yeah.
Delving why that is the case, because it doesn't. It's weird. I'll make a couple of phone calls and try and we'll report back next week.
Look, I'll let you look into that one there. Best of luck to the teams that are playing this weekend. All right, the NRL, let's go through that very, very quickly. Round 1, the Raiders getting up over the Warriors. The Panthers just getting up over the Sharks. The big one for me is Melbourne Storm. Once again, they just find a way.
Probably should put your house on that they win round 1 every year. I think that's 22 in a row.
Something ridiculous like that.
So, yeah.
How do we see them going this year? Could injuries play a little bit of a part to that?
Oh, yeah. But, geez, to their credit, considering they're not in a rugby stronger hold, they're always around the mark, always competitive. Yep. So, yeah, they've been a huge success story.
Absolutely. Brisbane Broncos 50-14 against the Roosters.
Yeah.
That's almost a cricket score there.
Yeah, it's a big win.
Knights v the Tigers 8-10. The Dolphins taking on the Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs getting up 16-14. The Dragons going down to the Bulldogs. The Sea Eagles having a big, big win over the Cowboys. And as we mentioned, the Melbourne Storm 56 to the Eels 18. Yep. All right, do we want to do tips for this weekend really quickly? We'll leave that one till next week. All right, let's have a look at what we've got coming up. We have Greg Edwards, part 1.
We actually recorded that a fair while back.
We did.
So, yeah.
And Peter Super Carey, part 3.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
A dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.
Flashbacks.
Around the corner, Dietrich! Oh, he didn't mark it. The umpire made a push. Oh, what a lucky one. Grenville Dietrich, the big fellow, South Australia's leading goal kicker by plenty. 48 for the season. His first kick for the game. 10 metres out. His first interstate game. South Australia down by 1 point. He's nudged it through. The Croatians in front.
Well, favoured by a bounce. Michael Ace, 35 metres out. Chips into the goal. Dietrich! Oh, he's got him. Beautifully put by Michael Ace. Playing a very good captain's game, and Dietrich sat him behind Peter Dean, and he's got it. First mark to Dietrich. He's only kicked 1 goal.
Lovely piece of football by Ace. 15 metres brings him right onto the line.
Couldn't possibly miss from here, Bob. Umpire Kinnear having a few words to say. Forcing Dean back onto the line. What does he do from there, Bob? He can't take him back any further than that. Well, Dietrich has been at the goal. Cords is happy, no doubt about that. Tina Dietrich. Gee, they're running over the top of the Vicks at the moment. The lead is 16 points. Kernahan in the square. Couldn't take it. Williams needs support. Gets it to Dietrich. Oh, goal! What a great goal! He's third. South Australia 12-7 go further ahead. Australia.
Extra time. Big finish.
All right, mate. Some absolutely fantastic highlights of Grenville Dietrich there, mate. Give us your thoughts, mate.
Oh, it brings back some memories that night because we were in Melbourne on Footy University. We were at Norton's pub. It was still technically 10 o'clock closing time back then.
Yeah.
And also we'd pulled money. Everyone's in. I was running it. And it was you had to scull a beer for each time. Grenville got to kick the goal.
Yes.
Kicked 2 goals in 3 minutes. The guy left the tap running, and then he's gone to me, how many was that? Now, I knew we had 24 there, so I knew it was 48 beers, and I pretended to count. I've gone 32. And a couple of the uni guys cracked up, gone, that's superb. And then he's gone, the guy's gone, look, if you guys keep drinking, we'll stay open. That wasn't exactly a problem. So, yes, it was a great night. Look, I know Grenville was extremely complimentary of Aishi as a captain.
Yes.
From that night. And, he was standing Gary Pert. And, look, he could have been anything. Grenville, he's a character. We know that. Look, yes, he should have done more. But he kicked 4 in a state game and played a huge part in South Australia winning the game.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. If you don't get a chance, just look on YouTube and you'll find some of these state games, just going back over it and for our flashbacks and bits and pieces like that. It's just amazing to watch some of these old players just go about their business.
And how loud was the crowd?
Football Park was rocking, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did for those state games. It was incredible. There was one another year, Tuesday night, and actually a former guest on the show, Sean Tasker,
Yes.
was there, and it was a cold night, and he had a T-shirt on, and that, but it was that bloody hot with body warmth.
Yep.
It was fine.
Yep.
And
we all know what West Lakes is
yeah,
like.
and then when you walked out, then you were quickly putting clothes on. But yeah, watching the game when it was packed, it was fine.
Absolutely. All right, mate. Let's leave those reminiscing memories there and move on with our extra time big finish. Netball, the Thunderbirds take on the Melbourne Mavericks this Friday night, 14th of March, and they're going to be at home at the Entertainment Centre. It's going to be a busy precinct down there, isn't it?
Yep. Go the Thunderbirds.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the NBA. We talked about a drafted player last week, but the standings are starting to sort themselves out as far as the Eastern Conference. Cleveland Cavaliers Well, they've basically put it to bed, a bit like Liverpool there quite early in the season. They won 54 games and only lost 10. Their nearest rival is 46 and 18. So that's going to be big gap there, obviously, in the standings for the Eastern Conference. And I'm just trying to find the Western Conference. Here we go, Oklahoma City. But the big one is the LA Lakers, since they've traded up, I suppose, for Luka Doncic, have gone on a bit of a winning streak there and got themselves into second position. But Oklahoma, a bit like the Cleveland Cavaliers, are just so far in front. It's sort of a one-horse race in the West as well. All right, let's move on to tennis. So we'll go a bit more locally this week. The state pennant finals were played at Memorial Drive on the weekend, and the winners in the men were being the Peak Gardens, defeating Trinity Gardens in this year's final. And that's actually their third straight premiership.
Yeah, well done. Well done, Peak Gardens.
Absolutely, well done to them. And in the women's, the Memorial Drive Tennis Club defeating Seacliff in this year's final. And that's winning their first premiership with the reformatted finals and state league finals and everything else.
Well done, Memorial Drive.
Congratulations to them. All right, any other business to bring up tonight, mate? I thought I'd leave it open for you.
Look, the AFL, yet again, the hypocrisy. Now, do I think there was really much in it yesterday, but in between Craig McRae and GWS, Adam Kingsley, and the clubs in general? No. But the way they overreacted to Ken Hinkley last year and fined him $20,000. Now, at $20,000, it's
not a small amount, is it?
And yet here it's a warning. Now, I'm sorry. Hinkley's was after the game.
Yep.
The teams were still separated.
Well,
this was on the interchange bench.
Yeah, but...
And it could have erupted. Now, do I think there was much in it? No, look, the coaches have downplayed it.
Yeah.
You know,
of course they're going to do
And
it.
of course they're going that.
Yeah.
But I just think they had to fine him. There was no other option. After you've acted that way against Hinkley, he had to be fined.
Yep.
But no, the hypocrisy is just astounding again.
Yep. Absolutely crazy. My other topics to bring up today is probably the Toby Green knee, lifting the knee for protection a little bit. What were your thoughts on that, mate?
He's a little unlucky there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a $6,500 fine.
So it's not Mickey Mouse.
Nope.
So, yeah.
Well, I think between him and Butters, they could pretty much build a completely new stadium, couldn't they?
Yeah, so mind you, the salary they're on and all that.
Yep.
But yeah, I do think they go over the top with those fines.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right, good, the bad, the ugly for the week, mate.
The good was South Australia.
Absolutely.
Getting through.
I think Lehman making 100 there is certainly well and truly
huge.
up there for me. Yep.
So wrap for Jake. Actually thought I had his mobile on my phone. I didn't, so that's why I didn't get him on tonight.
Nope. We'll worry about that after they win the final, I reckon.
We'll worry about it beforehand as
well.
Look, the bad, I think, is the AFL opening round in terms of just the lukewarm.
I can't
haven't got it.
with you.
But, yes, they're nice and unlucky with the cyclone and all that. And they've shown one of the clubs have now in the rugby have got to relocate because they can't train with her, and players are going, well, hang on, what do we do at the moment? So, yeah, there's going to be some big things out of this. It's just the rainfall's just been insane.
Yes, I've been following a few pictures that have been going around.
Incredible.
And what about the ugly, mate? What's been the ugliest thing that you've probably seen this weekend, sporting-wise? For me, I'll kick it off. I think it's the NRL scheduling that game when they really didn't have to.
And same thing with Brisbane Roar being scheduled in the soccer.
Yep.
There are things more important. Even though we're both sporting nuts and we're here doing the show on sport, in the pure reality of life, there's a few more things important in life than sport, and it was on the weekend. Now, you imagine you had to leave your family behind and something had happened. And, I just think, totally agree. For mine, just dumb. It's, we've got to put things in front of sport.
My other ugly is probably this convoluted draw that now is going to have
it's crazy.
Gold Coast playing
and
Essendon
Essendon,
playing in round 24 or two rounds in 24.
2 rounds. It's crazy. And so you imagine if you got a few injuries then, and you got to play those 2 games so close
what if
together.
You're a team? What if you're a team that's sitting just inside the 8, and they're 2 teams that can make the 8?
It's weird.
It's going to be an interesting watch. And is it a test case of everybody plays the opening round, and round 24 or round 25, I suppose, becomes wild card round?
Possibly,
because we're going to get a look at it, aren't we?
Possibly. I'm just disappointed that Gold Coast and Essendon didn't get together and go, right, no, hey guys, there's the bye round. We're going to have to play then.
Yep.
Not what has been. I'd be pretty angry as both clubs with what's been scheduled. I think it's just crazy.
It's definitely an ugly for me. All right, mate, we better wind things up there. I thank you once again for your time here tonight.
Thanks, mate.
But as we've said previously, if you haven't liked, rate and subscribe, please do so. All of those things do help us. Certainly share it on our episodes, and we'll try to respond to any messages, any comments as best we can along the week as well. Mate, as per usual, we've got to do better than this, and we will, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe. In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at SportsCast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.